Hi, so today I'm here with Michael, and we're going to be talking a bit about mental health and how to deal with trauma. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, I'm Michael Griswold, and um, a few years ago, I was married to a girl that I fell in love with at first sight, actually. Um, and I proposed to her at the top of the Empire State Building, and she said yes. And for a while, we were living just a perfect fairy tale type of life. And on the day before our first anniversary, she was pregnant with our first child. And as we were driving to celebrate, I fell asleep. And when I woke up in the hospital, they said we only brought back one body from the accident. And so when I fell asleep, the my wife and our unborn son both died. And uh, reason I'm here today is to talk to people about what happens when something that you didn't expect happens in life. How do you pick up the pieces, and um, how do you put life together in a way that makes sense, and even how do you make life beautiful again after something that has been devastating has happened. And I think nowadays, increasingly people are asking these kinds of questions thanks to a lot of the press and media that people are giving about the effects of trauma on people's lives.
So, I would like to start with how do you deal with the trauma, and specifically, what type of methods do you use when, when you're feeling very anxious and or when you have like flashbacks or when you think about things you don't want to think about, like intrusive thoughts? How do you deal with that?
Oh, that's a great question. So there's a lot of advice out there about how you should control your thoughts, and a lot of focus on thinking positive thoughts. And I happen to think all of that is a bunch of very misguided advice. What what is much better for people to do, rather than trying to control their thoughts, which, if anyone has tried it, is an impossibility unless you're very skilled and very trained through years and years of discipline. You are not going to control your thoughts. It's just not going to happen. Um, However, there is something much better that you can do, and that is to not take your thoughts seriously. You see, we have this idea in this idea that if we just get it right, if we just get the right thought, we just know that we're right, then everything's going to be all right. But the truth is there's so much that we don't have any idea about. The vast majority of what is happening in this world, we are clueless about. Our conscious attention is so small and fragmentary and so insignificant in comparison to everything that is going on, that the thought of us resting all of our confidence on our conscious attention is laughable. The truth is that um, we don't know the vast majority of things that are going on here. And the best thing to do is, rather than to control our thoughts, to get them the way that they should be, which we don't even know what that is. We need them to be positive all the time. It's impossible. Instead, the better thing to do is just not take them seriously. Is to recognize that our thoughts, well, they're just thoughts. I know there's a popular idea out there that says that thoughts are things and that we control our thoughts.
Mhm.
But this is a recipe for psychosis. This is a recipe for being very delusional about life and giving yourself the idea that by controlling your thoughts, you're somehow controlling the world. No, you're only controlling your perspective of the world. Now, if we want to control our perspective of the world in a way that's sane, then we do so in the context of the rest of the world, rather than trying to cut ourselves off from it by saying that things have to be the way our thoughts insist that they are. Here's the main idea here. Here's the reason that trauma, and this is the clue so that you know because there's a lot of misleading advice. Here's the clue to know that it's off track. Anytime anything separates you from the rest of the world or creates you separate from anything, this is a clue that we're heading in the wrong direction. So to give an example, when you hear people say things like thoughts are things, well, the implication is that thoughts are special things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why they say thoughts are things. Thoughts are special. They're not. There's nothing different from a thought than a cup. Fundamentally, everything is the same. Everything in this universe is all the manifestation of one thing in myriad forms. So when we cut things off and try to make these things separate and take it seriously, we're getting very confused. The only reason that things are separate is because it makes them beautiful. It gives variety. But when we start to take the separation seriously and think that, well, we got to control this one part or else the whole thing falls apart, this is not the way it works. So the whole point is like when people are trying, when people have suffered something or they're dealing with chronic anxiety, this is something people deal with terribly, of course. It's this chronic anxiety because they got to get the thought right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, if I could just, which one is right? None of them. None of them are right. Because every thought is from its own perspective, do you see? And the assumption that we bring to the thought is what makes the thought legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
And so every thought is legitimate based on the perspective that it comes from. Trying to figure out which one is right is a recipe for madness. Instead, look, I'm in Costa Rica right now, okay? Let's take a look here. You see these leaves, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They're all different lengths. Which one is the right length?
There's no right length.
That's exactly right. It's the same with our thoughts. Our thoughts are the exact same. They're all different. In Zen, it says in the months of spring, some branches are short and some are long. Which is the right distance? Which is the right length? And so there's a great deal of freedom that can come when, rather than, oh God, I gotta monitor my thoughts. I gotta be on the, when instead we relax into life because life ain't thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
You understand the difference?
Yeah.
This, hey, right here, this is life. All this shit that's going on up here, this ain't.
Mm-hmm.
So when we can stop taking this seriously, take this, hey, look, I'm talking to you, you're a real person. Hey, this is really happening right now, right?
Mm.
This is real. When we stop being distracted by all this and start focusing on, hey, then we're not anxious anymore. You see?
Yeah, and for me, thoughts we can't control. I know how people say like control your thoughts. That's like how you succeed in life, how you be happy is from controlling your thoughts. We can't control our thoughts. That's something I don't agree with because we cannot control it. Like if I tell myself to not think of an apple, I will think of an apple. And so I can never control my thoughts. And that's the same with like, for me, when I have anxiety and I think of, when I have like a test, for example, I think of like the worst case scenarios. I think of a lot of scenarios. And like you said, none of them are right because I don't know what would happen. Like when I take my test, I have like a scenario where I get 1%, one where I fail, one where I get like a really high score, but none of them are correct because none of them, I can't predict the future. And so my thoughts, they are practically useless because I don't know what would happen.
Yes, none of them are correct, and all of them are correct from their own perspective. Check it out. Look, in the Hindu idea of the world, in the Hindu myth of the world, this is very helpful. Okay, the Hindus believe that all of life is a drama, that we're just kind of like Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage, right? Now, if you think about this, this makes life, instead of being dull and oppressive and quite scary, it makes life kind of fun because, you know, thinking about this test, right? You're anticipating the test. As you're playing out all of these different scenarios in your mind, if life is a drama, then every one of those scenarios is its own little play. Oh, look, I got a 1%. Oh my gosh, it's a tragedy. What happens then? And there's entertainment about it.
Mhm.
You see, to see how if we look at your thoughts from simply the perspective of a drama, then they become not threatening, but entertaining. Oh, look, there I go. I went and got all of them right. I got the highest score in the class and everybody threw a parade for me because I'm so smart. That's another one, right? And we play these out not to terrify ourselves. This is the thing that people have to understand, that we don't play these scenarios out so that we can terrify ourselves. No. We play them out to delight ourselves, even if the delight is a scary one. Why do we go to scary movies? Because it's delightful to be scared sometimes. We ought not be afraid of being afraid. Let's not be afraid of fear. Let's not be afraid of, oh, you'll hear this rubbish all the time. Well, you know, there's only two motivations in life, fear and love, and you always got to choose love. This is complete nonsense. This is complete nonsense. Look, if there was no such thing, if there was no reason for fear, it would not exist. We cannot demonize our own emotions. We can't insist that we always be white and never be black, or always be top and never be bottom, or always be good and never be bad, because those things cannot exist without the other.
Yeah, like if there's no good, there's no bad. Like there must be both of them for them to exist, because like if there's no rich people, there will be no poor people. Like poor people wouldn't exist because everyone would be the same. So that's the thing with like thoughts, because dealing with thoughts are so difficult, and like you said, like make them like kind of like a TV drama, because for me, like you said, like if I get 100%, I'll my friends would throw a parade for me. I get a medal from the president, all of those crazy ideas. Like I'll just like embrace them instead of like pushing them away, because in a way they are right, not realistically accurate, but right in a way that it's something that like I think about. Of
Yes.
course, it's highly unlikely that the president will throw a huge parade for me when I get 100%, but I can think about that, and like that's something I can think about. Like it doesn't hurt anyone by thinking that president would throw a parade for me.
And it's fun, right? It's look, everybody, I mean, even I'm sure even you've had this experience where we're going through life and we're like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, what is this all about? Like, what? And everybody wants to have some significant contribution, and like, and this puts a lot of pressure. Oh, well, you know, in order for you to be really making your life worthwhile, you got to cure fucking cancer, or you got to be the best. Look, all of that is complete and utter nonsense. Here's how to make life worth living. Live it. And look, live it with all of the tools that you have available, which includes your imagination. God forbid. Look, the way that people have talked about the imagination and the way that our thoughts control reality, God, you would think our thoughts are this fucking evil taskmaster. It's not like that. Our thoughts are for our entertainment. It's for our enjoyment. Why do we think of all of these different scenarios? We have to remember that the reason we think about them isn't because we're neurotic. It's not because we're crazy. It's not because, oh God, I've got ADD. I just think about all these things. Of course you do. You're human. That's part of what we do. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you understand that it's just not real. You're just thinking. It's just a form of entertainment. It's like going to the movies. You go to the movies because it's fun. We sit around and think about things because it's fun. If we start to take it seriously, it becomes very scary, very scary. But that's just the whole point. It's not meant to be taken seriously. And if you just remember that, then you're free. Now, I mean, when we're talking about anxiety, right? We're talking about everyday experiences. But hey, what about something where my own negligence was responsible for the death of my wife and our unborn son? Well, I mean, certainly, I mean, and this is serious. This is, we've got to really do something about this, because this is serious business. Well, look, I just got to tell you that sounds real good, but it's only a death sentence. If we insist that things be serious and that, oh golly, well, we really must do something to change something, well, we're in trouble. Because the fact is that we can't take anything in life seriously, or else we'll lose our mind. Because here's the reality: everybody's going to die. Mm-hmm. See, when we start to take things seriously, we in the back of our mind, we think, you know what, man, I got a trick here. I bet I can beat this game. I bet I can get out of here without dying like everybody else. I know if I just get this trick, man. No. Of course, when someone dies, then that we love them. Man, it is tragic, and God damn, it hurts. Like, wow. Yes, but there's nothing to be done about it. That's a part of what we're doing here. And sometimes, man, it hurts. God, fuck, it hurts. But look, and this is what healed me, and this is what I think will heal people. I did a heroic dose of psychedelics. Okay, and look, magic mushrooms. These are powerful tools that change our state of consciousness. And when I was on this trip, I realized something that you could never convince me of just talking to me. I realized that the thing that made Libby's death tragic was the same thing that made it beautiful. And that is that I loved the fucking shit out of her. See, if I didn't love her, her death wouldn't have been a tragedy. It would have just been a statistic. People die every day. Yeah. What made her death a tragedy was that I fucking loved her so much. Now, here's the point. Is that something to be sad about? Certainly not. Certainly we can't be sad that we love someone so much that it hurts when they die. Certainly we can't be. Certainly that doesn't make sense. Because then we missed the whole point of loving someone so much. Come on. So if that's the case, then we just got to deal with the fact that this is a part of what makes life beautiful. Mm-hmm. Do you see that? God damn it. Sometimes isn't it the pain? Look, when you see someone accomplish something, whether it's a sports, somebody wins something in a sporting event at an Olympics or some sort of competition, and they've worked for years and years and years to get to that point. And there's tears running down their face and they're so happy. And you can feel the pain of the years of trial that they've gone through. Was it worth it? You better believe it. Did all of the pain make that moment sweeter? God damn, you better believe it. Mm-hmm. You see, the thing that we're dealing with here with people with mental health issues, we're dealing with people being told reality is different than what it is, and insisting that you make it different. You see, what you're being told by personal development people is, hey man, you got to make life positive all the time. Hey, good vibes only. We don't need no negative stuff. Hey, only positives. That is an impossibility. You cannot do it. It's imagine if somebody came into your room and said, hey, I'm going to put everything on the left side so that there isn't anything on the right side. You'd say, well, you can't do that. You see. And so what is required is not the insistence that thing be positive, but instead the skillful poise to ride the emotions of life skillfully and not afraid. To recognize, oh boy, this is going to be a scary one. Jesus, oh my God. And to have the trust in this world that you live in, trust in life that brought you here, that it's going to be good to you, even if it is scary as shit.
Like I've like you said, like life, when we actually think about it, it's not a lot, honestly, because I watched a video a while ago, and when you look at Earth from like a perspective and you look at the universe, Earth is so tiny. It's like a little speck of dust somewhere, and us humans are even tinier in it. And honestly, there's like 7 billion of us here. One of us dies, okay, fine, we're dead. And scientists are like, we're trying to find a cure to so everyone doesn't have to die and we live forever. Why would you want to live forever? I don't
Yeah,
understand it. What would you
right.
do if you lived forever? Like just run around and work and like get a different job every day, do all the jobs in the world, have a lot of kids, and not die. Like the thing that makes life so valuable is that it's short. There's a limited amount of time we can stay on Earth, and we're not alive forever.
Yeah.
And so, like death, of course, it's sad, and of course, like extending life is a good thing. Like I want my dog to stay alive with me as long as possible, but
Yeah.
I won't want him to live forever because honestly, living forever is not the best thing in the world. So, like you said, our thought state tell us that we have to be positive and we have to make the most of life. And for me, I used to think like that. I used to think that my anxiety makes me crazy and I should just take everything seriously, be very accomplished at like of
Yeah.
13 and get a wonderful job at 20 and become a billionaire, but that's not going to happen. And honestly, I'm just doing whatever feels right. I
Yes.
I I got diagnosed with bipolar a while ago, and honestly, I don't care a lot about it because of course I've dealt with like depression and all that, and that's when thoughts become scary because thoughts, like you said, it's a fantasy. It's not meant to be taken seriously, but when we take it seriously, then it becomes dangerous. And
That's
that's
right.
what happened with me. I took every thought seriously, and now I don't. I just, okay, fine, the thought comes, I'm just gonna let it go. And that's honestly a great thing because now I'm just really, like what people say, living freely. And that's when I let go of my thoughts. I don't care about them and I don't take it seriously. How well I'm gonna do on a test, it doesn't matter. I'll just revise when I'm done with it. I'll just do the test.
Mhm. Exactly. And living like this is what all of the, mystic people mean when they say to live in the moment. It means, hey, dude, we're only doing one thing at a time. Right now, I'm talking to you, you're talking to me. And I mean, nothing's going to fall apart because we're having a conversation. Like everything's fine. We're just talking right here.
Mhm.
And the when you were talking about us being so insignificant on this planet and this tiny little thing, yes, and it is through our particular nervous system that the whole universe is manifest. And so, yes, we are these tiny little specks of something in the middle of somewhere that's fucking incredibly huge. And yet it is through our consciousness that all of this exists.
Mhm.
How incredible is that? I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion that any of this stuff that we can experience any of this. You see, we kind of just assume, oh, well, this is just the way that it is. No, man, like it's your nervous system, it's your body that allows all of this to exist. And when you cease to exist in a very real way, the world ceases to exist from your perspective. And so when um, we get a proper view of when man has a proper view of himself in relationship to his environment, his or her environment, then we stop feeling like aliens and intruders into the world, and we begin feeling welcomed and as if we're in a secret conspiracy with the rest of life, and all we're here to do is to do some mischief, like just playful kind of, hey, let's do some pranks, and nobody's trying to hurt anybody, like in this way of looking at life, right? In this way of life being like a co-conspirator. It's a way where we get to enjoy life, all of the ups and downs of it, without it being taken too seriously.
And like life, it's not really that big of a deal. And like what we talked about, like how we're really insignificant in in the world, and how our thoughts really do not matter if like we're just in here to have some fun. And like it's the same thing with this podcast thing, and I just did it for fun. Like I'm not here to get like a huge reward or something. I'm just here for fun, and I'm talking to you for fun. And honestly, I cannot predict the future, and like you said, I can't stop death from happening, and I can't stop anything from happening, honestly. If there's going to be um an asteroid come right down in 2 minutes, I can't do anything now. Like I don't know what I would do. I'm not able to jump to space and kick it out. So I can't do anything. And like I that's the thing with like dealing with like guilt and shame, for example, is that to know that unless like you didn't try as hard as you thought you did, you didn't try as hard as you thought you would have, but just doing whatever that felt right at that moment, you can't change what happened in the past. So there's no point in worrying about it, and no point in like stalling time over it and thinking about it every day. It's just going to cause more pain. And honestly, on Earth, the only thing we actually know is real are like feelings, because we can actually feel them. And so in life, we just don't want pain anymore. We want to minimize pain, and we want like more of the good feelings, like happiness or whatever. But like there's no, just what I'm saying is that there's no point in being like sometimes like being unhappy over little things that really don't matter when you think about it. And so for me, when I just stop thinking about things that usually make me sad, it makes me feel a lot more free.
Yes. And when we think about life and like how to live it skillfully, I think that what we want is to feel all of the feelings and not be overwhelmed by them.
Mhm.
So, you know, you said something a minute ago that was really insightful about, oh yes, when you were saying that you can't do anything, right? Like about guilt and shame, and the asteroid that you can't kick back into the universe. Man, there's a clue there. When we get to this point of helplessness, we tend to think, oh, there's something wrong with me. Oh, I can't do anything. There's something wrong with me. I'm defective. Man, that ain't it. That ain't it. What it is it's showing the limit of our own consciousness, and that this is what people mean about trusting the universe. You got to trust your environment. Like if an animal were in an environment, if you put an animal in an environment where it doesn't feel like it can trust its environment, it's not going to do well. The human being has to trust its environment, and its environment is the world and other people. And so when we are at a point where like, man, I don't know what to do about this guilt and shame, Well, the thing to do is to say, well, you know what? I'm just going to trust that I don't need to know
Mhm.
that I don't have to be omnipotent in order to function in this world.
Mhm.
I don't have to have everything figured out because I, on some level, trust that this world is taking care of me in ways that I can't. I mean, dude, look, this whole conversation, you've been breathing,
Mhm.
and so have I. And I haven't given it any thought until now. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I haven't been, I,
It's
I
the
haven't
same
been
for
remember.
me. I
Yeah,
haven't think about breathing until you just told me, "Oh, you're breathing," and now I'm thinking about breathing.
yeah. But look, like you didn't have to do it. I didn't have to do it. Like something is doing this for us.
Mhm.
You see? And so the more that we can adopt that mentality, hey man, you know what? I don't know how to get rid of this guilt and shame. And probably the harder that I'm trying to get rid of it, the more it's going to be sticking around. Maybe I don't need to. Maybe everything's okay. And just that feeling of like trusting this world, man, makes it a whole lot more enjoyable. I'll tell you that.
And yeah, that's what like we've been basically saying is like just letting things go and really just going with whatever feels right. So yeah, I really like everything you're saying, and unfortunately it's been like over 3 minutes, and so thank you so much for joining me, and I loved our conversation, so thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. It was great chatting with you.